Governor Mike Pence told the General Assembly this week to allocate more than $7.5 million additional dollars to those he calls the state's most vulnerable. The governor made the move after completion of an independent study of Indiana's Department of Child Services. The study recommended additional staff, improved training, increased efficiency, and better use of statistical data at DCS. Despite staffing increases over the past several years, the department still doesn't meet the manager-to-caseload ratio determined by the Indiana statute. The governor directed DCS to immediately hire 100 additional family case managers and 17 new supervisors. The governor says that continued improvements at DCS are necessary for the safety of Hoosier children and families. Some young women at a region school are already big winners, but they're looking for your help to take home the grand prize. The Gary School Corporation's Frankie Woods McCullough Academy for Girls is one of 15 national finalists in Samsung's Solve for Tomorrow contest, a competition to raise enthusiasm for science, technology, engineering, and math education. The girls' project, about a local food desert, has already won a minimum of $35,000 in technology for their school.
Well, these are our greenhouses, and we started making them because, as we heard, we looked and researched, Gary, Indiana is a food desert, and we don't have a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables for our people in our community to come and get. I'm really excited for the whole school. I hope this really be a big thing for the school. I hope we win. I know we'll win, but I'm really hoping that we win and take it to the next level. I'm glad we won the 15 finalists.
Community voting for one of the grand prizes worth up to $120,000 is going on now through Wednesday, March 25th. You can vote by going to samson.com, Solve for Tomorrow. The Northwest Indiana Regional Development Authority got a major shot in the arm this week. The Indiana House approved 2 bills designed to give the RDA more funding to bolster expansion of the Westlake Corridor project. The first creates a state grant program to fund South Shore growth along the Westlake Corridor. The second helps make it easier for the RDA to get matching federal dollars. Bill Hanna, President and CEO of the Northwest Indiana Regional Development Authority, says the business of the RDA is about more than just transportation.
You know, this job is as much about rebuilding the middle class in Northwest Indiana as it is about a train. It's about putting us on par with our competitors in the suburbs of Chicago.
The RDA projects that expansion of the South Shore Rail Line will result in an additional $231 million in personal income for the regional economy. The Gary Air Show is taking to the skies once again. Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson announced this week that the air show is returning to Gary and will be held at Marquette Park July 11th and 12th. The show was grounded last year after it was rained out at its proposed new location, Fair Oaks Farms. Some high-flying talent has already been lined up, the United States Air Force Thunderbirds and the United States Army Golden Knights. Mayor Freeman Wilson says that not only is the event a major tourist attraction, but she hopes it will be an economic boon for the city of Gary. This week, the 7th annual St. Patrick's Day festivities in Crown Point were all about giving and losing, but it was all for a good cause. Residents lined up to lose their locks in order to give some sick children plenty to gain. Volunteers got their heads shaved to raise money to help cure childhood cancer. Young and old lopped off their locks for the annual St. Baldricks fundraiser. The effort, led by Crown Point Mayor David Urin, hit close to home for some participants whose lives have been touched by cancer.
We do this through our church because we want to serve the community and be a part of the community and be a blessing to them. So it's just part of something that we do to come out and serve and just say thank you to the community and be a part of it.
Residents were also treated to a dinner of corned beef, cabbage, potatoes, carrots, and dessert. All the money raised from the Irish dinner will be donated to the city. An effort to merge 911 systems is hitting a few bumps in the road, and Steve Walsh talks to a group trying to ease the road to a healthy, happy future for Northwest Indiana seniors. Those stories and more coming up right after this.
Lakeshore Report wants to hear from you. Send your thoughts, concerns, questions, and story ideas to tvfeedback@lakeshorepublicmedia.org. You can also reach us on Facebook and Twitter at Lakeshore Report. Make sure to tweet us using the hashtag NWIPride and you may see your comments on air. Lakeshore Report, providing you region-focused content.
Following a state mandate, Lake County public safety officials have been working all year to merge 17 municipal and county dispatch centers for 911 services. Lakeshore reporter Steve Lattimore checked in with authorities and citizens to see just how that effort to merge 911 is going.
On paper, it seems like a good idea, consolidating 911 services under one roof here in Crown Point. But some people we spoke to don't think it's such a good idea. When an emergency happens, you want to know that if you call 911, help is on the way because seconds count. Diana Ortiz knows this all too well. In late February, her daughter had a seizure and a rapidly escalating fever.
I was terrified. I was shaking. I was ready to cry.
911, what's the address of the emergency?
Her husband called 911, but she was not prepared for what happened next.
When he was connected, he heard county dispatch. At this time, he basically requested ambulance service. The lady asked, where are you located? Where do you need this service at? He specifically gave our address. And at that time, when he gave the address, she was unable to locate our house. They told me that if I hadn't administered the ibuprofen or gave her the breaths, that she wouldn't have made it. It would have been more severe outcome.
It'll be used for the 911 phone system.
Brian Hitchcock is the new Lake County 911 director. He's been overseeing the building of the new Lake County 911 Center. It'll have state-of-the-art computers, backup systems on and off site, also fewer dispatchers, but they will be more efficient and it will save money. He says consolidation is the solution to stopping the transferring of 911 calls at a time when people urgently need help.
He may have been calling from Lake Station, but it might have hit a cell tower over in Hobart. So when Hobart gets a call, they have to decipher where it's coming from and they have to make a transfer with it. Most people don't realize that this happens probably 100 times a day in Lake County or more. And so, as you know, when you deal with 911s and emergencies, those type of transfers chew up valuable time. With this new consolidation going on, there will be no transfers going on.
This consolidation of 911 services is mandated by the state to make sure that Lake County keeps up with the changing technology.
You know, you've got a 911 phone system that's probably 10 years old. Well, technology, as you know, changes every 6 months in today's world. There's things that you can do today that I would have never dreamt of when I started as a dispatcher myself.
The problem is the program is years behind schedule and local residents are concerned that the new dispatchers and the new system will not know very specific locations in their local areas.
Years ago, you used to have to rely on directions from people. Yeah, I live on the Johnson farm, which is just down from McDonald's, and that used to go on thousands of times a day throughout the country. Well, now, with the computer systems that we have, they have maps in them. So when somebody calls in, if they don't know where they're at, most cell phones will give us the GPS location of where they're at. Well, there is a place called Shoe Corner where everybody tosses their shoes out in Lake County. We have that programmed into the system. So if somebody calls us up on a traffic accident on Shoe Corner, we know where it's at.
Dana Ortiz and Kim Robinson are not alone. She runs a Facebook page called People for Change, A Better Tomorrow, Lake Station and Beyond. She has about 900 members, and they want Lake County officials to listen to their concerns.
The thing is, with our local dispatchers, if someone calls and says, I'm at the pit and we're drowning, we would know where that is. I know where that is. Does somebody in Crown Point know where that is if they didn't grow up here?
There should have been no delay. There shouldn't have been a question. There shouldn't have been a reason to have to repeat. There shouldn't have been a reason to give cross intersections. And if it had been with our local dispatcher versus a county dispatcher, then I'm sure the local dispatcher would have been able to realize where we were.
I think that there needs to be a public forum where people like Dana and others who may have concerns or questions or have experienced problems can make these problems aware.
Hitchcock says that when you call 911, make sure that you give them your exact address and the location and municipality where you're located. He also suggests, if at all possible, use a landline. If all goes well here, they expect this system to be up and running in 2 months. In Crown Point, Stephen Lattimore, Lakeshore Report.
Providing services to those in need is also the focus of a local organization trying to make life more manageable for the aged. Steve Walsh spoke to a representative from the Northwest Indiana Community Action Group to see how they advocate for those who can't.
This year marks the 50th anniversary of the Older Americans Act. Not the most famous anniversary, but this law became the major vehicle for delivering nutrition and social services to America's elderly. The anniversary comes at a time when we are experiencing the largest influx of people over 60 in our nation's history. To talk about the act and what it's done and whether these programs are starting to fray at the edges given the growth of the senior population, we have Gary Old, who is the president and CEO of the Northwest Indiana Community Action Corporation. Gary, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. Glad to be here.
All right, so just to start off, this act, it's not Medicare, it's not Medicaid, it's not Social Security, but so describe what the Older Americans Act does.
Well, the act establishes the foundation and the structure for the delivery of services to the aged population as well as disabled Americans. You mentioned a couple of the services, but it provides the structure and then the authorization for the federal government to direct funding to the states and then to local communities like here to support a variety of services for the elderly.
Yeah, so but I don't think this act is particularly famous, but there are a lot of famous programs. In fact, Meals on Wheels,
Right.
This is where that comes out of there. A lot of the home health care things to try to keep people out of nursing homes. All of that was under this.
Yeah, it provides the vehicle, and in Indiana it comes via the federal government to the Indiana State Division of Aging, part of Family and Social Service Administration, and then this act also establishes the network of providers, and we as the Area Agency on Aging for 6 counties in Northwest Indiana are the local administrator and service provider.
So a lot of these things are just basically designed so people can stay in their homes longer. You know, maybe they need a meal delivered to them.
That's right.
Maybe they need a little housekeeping to keep folks out of nursing homes, because once they get into nursing homes, well, that care becomes dramatically more expensive.
Well, it's where it should be a nonpartisan issue because it plays on
keeping old people out of nursing homes. It should be nonpartisan.
Because one, it's what 98% of the people you talk to who are above 60 want to stay in their home. Secondly, it is nearly 8 times less expensive to provide these kind of supports in homes. So if you're in a private sector market and you've got demand at that level and you've got cost savings at that level, that's a win-win for all concerned.
All right, but that's at the national level,
That's
and that's
right.
the federal money. How are we
bet.
doing at the state level here? We've got a General Assembly, and they're working on a 2-year budget right now.
Right. The key parts there is, one, there's match requirements, so that as the federal funding is appropriated, there's a match requirement by the state. In Indiana, it's Older Hoosiers funding is what it's called. So as that would increase at the federal level, hopefully, then the requirement that the state would meet would also increase, so there'd be a greater investment. The other is the choice funding, which is the specific state funding which enables people to stay in their homes. It is simply to keep people out of institutions. It's to provide those supports.
Yeah.
That money has stayed flat over the past number of years, and it's unfortunate, having been in this type of work for 40 years. The wins now are when your funding stays stable.
Well, we're going to end it right there. Gary Old, who is the CEO of the Northwest Indiana Community Action Corporation. Thank you so much for being on.
My pleasure. Thanks for giving us a voice. We appreciate it. Thank you.
In an effort to provide our viewers with insight on region events, we've collaborated with the state's second largest newspaper, the Times of Northwest Indiana, to bring you even more region-centered news. Regularly, we'll have an exclusive preview of some of the stories featured in this Sunday's paper. This week, Times correspondent Deborah Laverty tells the story of an 85-year-old Griffith woman whose dance academy students span 3 generations. As her school celebrates its 65th anniversary, Jeannie Leitch is celebrating by doing what she loves best.
I just love to tumble and love to dance. Our teacher in Chicago put out a group called the 10 Co-eds, and we traveled all over, had fun. The 10 Co-eds were a dance group of 10 of us that we toured all over the United States. And then we were ready to go to Hawaii, and they had a duck strike. And the show was canceled. And I thought, well, now what do I do? And I asked my tap teacher, I said, gee, what do I do now? He said, well, Jean, you're such a good teacher. Why don't you teach? There were no teachers out here, and I took tap, ballet, jazz, tumbling. I took everything and singing. And so I opened a dance studio. And that was in 1950. And I've been there ever since because nobody told me I could quit. And I don't want to because I love it. God has been so good since the day I was born. He just always opened a door and when I needed it and gave me the greatest husband in the world. He was a builder and he said, well, you don't want to teach here. And this happened. He built a little studio on the other side. And I said, honey, if I could have something a little bigger, a little higher, a little wider. And this happened. We have different teachers that teach. We teach in both studios at the same time. We also teach singing and acting. I just loved children always. And it was my biggest thing that I could love the kids as I taught them how to dance and love dance, and I do that.
For more information about this story, you can log on to www.nwitimes.com. This past month, Northwest Indiana played host to a convention of comic magnitude, a place where geeking out is practically a mandate. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars or travel hundreds of miles when some of the best of comic book fandom is right here in Northwest Indiana.
Hey everybody, Josh here. We're at the Northwest Indiana Comic-Con in Schererville at the Halls of St. George. We're ready to find out what Northwest Indiana's got as far as comics, fun, crazy people. Come on, let's go. So what does a con like this mean to you?
Oh, it's great. I mean, I live in the Chicagoland area, and you usually have two big cons. And those are super bloated, and 9 times out of 10, you can't even meet people. It's just, a factory of people coming in and out. Here, just like we're doing right now, I can take 10 minutes, talk to you guys, and just kind of connect.
And what does a con like this mean to the independent artists such as yourself?
Bigger con like C2E2 is really about the sales. So this con can be a good precursor to that, where you get to test out different products and you get to get direct customer response to your products. But mostly what goes into getting to this point is like a lot of sleepless nights and staying up late and like second guessing yourself, and it's an artist turmoil. But when you come to the show and you see how people respond to your work, it's really gratifying.
He's half man, half dog. He's his own best friend. Barf, also known as
Bartholomew.
And who's played by
John Candy.
Who's played by
Groovy Louie.
Can you explain your costume?
I'm Battle Bunny Riven from League of Legends.
How long did this all take to put on this morning?
About 2 hours total.
Worth it? Getting a lot of compliments? A lot of photo ops? You're charging for those, right?
I wish I would have thought of that.
And what brings you to Northwest Indiana Comic-Con 2015?
Well, I live in Hammond, and I usually go to the conventions in Chicago, but there's finally one that's here.
Right in your backyard.
Yeah, local, finally.
How awesome is that?
I know, I am so happy about it because I love cosplaying.
How does a con like this compare to other cons that you've been to?
I've been to, C2E2, some of the Chicago ones. Nice thing about this, it's close. It doesn't cost $4 million to get in the door, $4 million to park a car. So, it's family friendly, it's close. The kids get burned out and just go home and don't have to empty your wallet here.
Oh, this has a personal touch. I mean, you have the showrunner welcoming people, trying to get at the same time, cosplayers nicely situated, everybody's enjoying themselves. So it has a real personal touch, which I really, really enjoy.
Hands down, this place is big, the venue is diverse, so it depends on what you're looking for, from comics to action figures to cosplayers and games.
They got it all.
Definitely.
So there you have it, Northwest Indiana Comic-Con 2015. If you're not here, I feel bad for you, son. There's so much to do, there's so much to see, there's so much to buy. I am nerding out. So, we'll see you next year. I'm going to go get my geek on.
You can always pitch a unique event like Comic-Con to us with the hashtag NWIPride on Facebook and Twitter. By the way, if you go to our Twitter page now at Lakeshore Report, you might see we're celebrating a milestone with a little cake. 1 year ago this week, we debuted our first show on March 21st, and we're so happy you've joined us along the journey. Seems like the perfect time to introduce a new Lakeshore Public Media team member who's also new to the region. Whitney Reynolds is a lady who has, she likes to talk and she likes to connect with people. Next month, her Whitney Reynolds show is debuting right here on Lakeshore Public Television, and we're so happy to have her in the studio. Hi, Whitney, nice to see you again.
Nice to be back in here. I tell you, between the cake and coming on, I mean, it's like a party.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your show. For people who aren't familiar with the Whitney Reynolds show, tell me a little bit about what it is people can expect.
Absolutely. The Whitney Reynolds show is a 30-minute topic-based program that's all about making a difference. So we highlight topics that sometimes aren't always talked about, but issues that need to be heard. So our upcoming season, we start things off with veterans, and we are highlighting all across the board how hard it is for a veteran to get back in the workplace when they come back from serving.
Right.
So we have celebrities, we have political figures, we have everyday people on the show. And so we really just pack it full of information, and the interview itself, it's amazing what unfolds whenever we're on set.
Well, you're a real people person, so tell me how it is that you not only connect to the people that are on your show, but our viewers.
You know, whenever I was a young girl, I always knew this was what I was going to do. I would say my mom, at a very young age, would record me in the living room with her VHS and everything like that, and so I always had a gift of talking and the gift of gab. But as I've matured into a talk show host and getting in bigger markets and being in Chicago, it really has been something that these stories need to be heard, and how you do it in a 30-minute show is critical, because there's a lot of different points that need to come out.
Well, we look forward to seeing how you connect and bring those stories to our viewers. We want to thank you so much for coming in today. And by the way, you can tune into the Whitney Reynolds show Monday evening at 6:30 and Sunday morning at 10. We want to thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you next time on Lakeshore Report.
Hi, joining me for this edition of Eye on the Arts is Margaret Jones, who is a fiber artist with Dunland Weavers Guild. And Margaret, welcome back to Eye on the Arts.
Thank you, John.
You've been here to tell, every spring we hear from Dunland Weavers Guild, pretty much.
Hopefully, yes. We have an exhibit that goes up in April at the Chesterton Art Gallery. We're putting it up on Good Friday, and it will be up for the month of April. And on the 12th of April, we do a style show. We didn't have it last year, and we had a lot of disappointed people, so we decided to reinstate it and put it in, and it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And we pretty much fill that gallery.
Oh, that's great.
So.
Well, you are, speaking of style shows, you yourself are styling today because you're wearing all of these items that you have made, correct?
I have made, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What tell me about?
Well, this was a shawl at one point, a long running piece like this, and it wasn't selling, so I cut it apart and made it into what's called a cocoon.
And what is a cocoon?
A cocoon is just kind of a little jacket.
Like a mink stole used to be.
Yes. Only mine's tencel.
I see.
And this is another one that literally is hot off the loom.
And you teach weaving as well as.
I do. I taught for a lot of years at East Chicago Block Junior High.
Oh, neat.
But haven't that program went out I think in 2000 or something.
Yeah.
But I still teach a lot of people. I also work with a program in Rolling Prairie, Indiana. The other abled adults at Sharing Meadows. And we started out with 2 looms. We now have 6 looms. And we make dish towels. Here I even brought some of their dish towels.
Oh, that's nice.
We make dish towels and rugs, of course. And I just keep them moving. I dress the looms, they do the weaving. And then I and several other people do the sewing and things that's required to make them into an actual dish towel.
And when did you get started in weaving?
I've been weaving about 33 years. And it started with a small ankle loom and went from there. I took a class from Mary Anita Porterfield had a loom within a year, and I'm off and running. I love it.
Well, great. Thanks for being here and bringing something to show and tell about.
Thank you.
And thank you and good luck with your exhibit. And thanks for watching. We'll be back again next week with another edition of Eye on the Arts. Eye on the Arts is made possible in part by South Shore Arts, the Indiana Arts Commission, and the National Endowment for the Arts, a federal agency.